Welcome to another deep dive. We're going to be taking a closer look at some of the history and lore of Middle-earth today.
Well, I'm always interested in those little details that Tolkien uses to create such a rich and complex world, like the seemingly insignificant details.
I know exactly what you mean. Like the hobbits settling the Shire at first glance, it just seems like a simple migration to a peaceful land. But when you start digging deeper, you realize there's so much more to it.
Oh, absolutely. Their migration from the westlands of Eriador, for instance, was more than just a random relocation. It was tied to the decline of the Dúnedain, the men of Westerness.
Right, the descendants of the Númenóreans.
Exactly. And Tolkien even mentions that many of the Hobbits' earlier settlements had vanished by Bilbo's time.
Makes you wonder what happened there, doesn't it?
It certainly does. What stories are lost to time?
And then there's the Shire itself. 40 leagues of land from the Far Downs to the Brandywine.
Right.
It wasn't always the idyllic haven we see in The Hobbit.
Right.
The text tells us it was once far more prosperous and well-tilled. So what happened? What forces shaped the Shire into that somewhat sleepy yet deeply rooted community we meet in The Lord of the Rings?
A great question. And within this seemingly simple society, we find hints of a deep historical awareness. The Shire records, for example. They become incredibly important after the War of the Ring.
I see what you mean.
It's as if the hobbits, thrust onto the world stage, suddenly have a need to understand their own past in relation to these monumental events.
It's like they're searching for their place in history.
Exactly. And places like Undertowers, with its vast library of hobbit history and lore, become almost like centers of self-discovery.
It's fascinating how Tolkien weaves these details in.
It really is. And it's important to remember that the hobbits weren't always passive bystanders. Take, for instance, their involvement in the last battle at Fornost against the Witch King of Angmar.
The Witch King of Angmar. That's a name that sends shivers down my spine.
Absolutely. Now, this event is barely a footnote in the histories of men, but for the hobbits, it's significant.
Right. It challenges our perception of them as purely carefree and unconcerned with the outside world.
Sending their bowmen to aid the king, it might seem like a small gesture, but it speaks volumes about their hidden capabilities.
I never thought about it that way before.
It makes you wonder what other hidden strengths lie dormant within these seemingly simple folk. And speaking of hidden strengths, let's not forget their internal conflicts.
Interesting.
Think about the Sackville Bagginses, for example. Their complex relationship with Bilbo, the resentment over Bag End. It speaks to those universal themes of ambition, jealousy, and the struggle for status.
It's a reminder that even in a place known for peace and simplicity, there's still conflict.
Exactly. Even in the Shire, the Hobbit heart, so to speak, is still a complex and fascinating thing. And then, of course, there's Gandalf. His arrival at Bilbo's 111st birthday party is more than just a plot device.
Right. It's the intrusion of the wider world, the forces of history, into the Shire's peaceful bubble.
Precisely. Gandalf acts as a catalyst, bringing with him a sense of urgency, a foreshadowing of impending danger. And his warning to Frodo concerning the ring, it's a subtle shift, but one that irrevocably alters the course of Hobbit history.
It sets in motion the events that will change Middle-earth forever.
Indeed. And it's here that we start to understand the true nature of the ring. Bilbo's reluctance to part with it, those flashes of anger and possessiveness, they're glimpses into the ring's corrupting power.
The way it twists even the purest of intention.
Exactly. Remember what Tolkien writes about Gollum and his birthday wish? It's a seemingly insignificant detail.
Gollum's birthday wish.
Yes. But it reveals the insidious nature of the ring, how it warps even the simplest desires, twisting them into tools of manipulation.
That detail always sends chills down my spine.
It's a reminder that the ring doesn't just offer power, it fundamentally changes you.
Right. It warps your desires to serve its own ends.
Exactly. And the fear Gollum experiences, a fear that even Gandalf acknowledges, adds another layer of dread. What is it about the ring that inspires such terror, even in a creature as wretched as Gollum?
It's a question that haunts the entire story.
It is. It's a fear that goes beyond the physical. It suggests that the ring's power is not just about control, but about the potential for utter spiritual annihilation. And as Frodo prepares to leave the Shire, forced to flee the only home he's ever known, that sense of dread hangs over everything.
They are literally stepping out of their comfort zone and into a world fraught with danger.
Right. A world where even the shadows themselves seem to hold a threat.
And what better representation of that threat than the Black Riders, the Nazgul? They are more than just physical enemies.
Oh, absolutely. They are extensions of Sauron's will, embodiments of fear and despair.
They are a constant reminder that the forces of darkness, are not merely lurking in the shadows, but are actively seeking to reclaim what they believe is rightfully theirs.
Precisely. And it's this pursuit that leads the hobbits to Bree, that crossroads where the familiar meets the strange. It's here, at the Prancing Pony, that they encounter Strider.
Strider, a ranger whose gruff exterior seems to hide a deeper purpose.
Strider, or Aragorn as we later discover, is a masterfully crafted character. He's shrouded in mystery, his lineage is secret, his motives unclear.
Right, and yet there's a sense of authority about it.
Absolutely, a knowledge that goes beyond that of an ordinary ranger.
That moment when he reveals his true identity to the hobbits, the change in his voice and demeanor, it's like a different person emerges.
Yes, one who carries the weight of history and destiny on his shoulders.
It's a deliberate act, meant to both intimidate and inspire.
To force the hobbits to confront the gravity of their situation and the need for a guide who understands the true nature of the threat they face.
A guide who can lead them through the darkness.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's Weathertop. It isn't just a random encounter with the Black Riders. It's a symbolic location.
No.
You have these ancient ruins, remnants of a lost kingdom, overlooking the road, a testament to the ebb and flow of power throughout history. It's also a strategic location, a high point with a commanding view of the surrounding lands.
A place where the past and present collide.
And it's here that Frodo is wounded, both physically and emotionally.
Wounded.
Yes. The realization that the forces of darkness are actively seeking him out, that he's not just fleeing but being hunted, it adds a whole new level of urgency to their quest.
Of danger.
Absolutely. This attack marks a turning point for Frodo. He transitions from a reluctant participant to a true bearer of the ring. He begins to understand the weight of responsibility that comes with it. And his journey to Rivendell becomes more than just a physical escape. It's a journey into the heart of the conflict, towards a confrontation with forces far greater than himself.
A journey that will test him to his very core.
Indeed. It's fascinating how even as Frodo and Sam journey towards Rivendell, their quest is just one small part of a much larger story unfolding across Middle-earth.
It's like those epic fantasy movies where you cut between different groups of characters all caught up in this one massive conflict.
Exactly. Tolkien masterfully weaves together these different storylines, showing how events both big and small are interconnected.
So while Frodo and Sam are facing their own trials, what's happening elsewhere?
Well, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, for instance, are on a mission of their own. Separated from the Fellowship, they're driven by the same urgency, tracking the orcs who have taken Merry and Pippin.
Right, and their pursuit leads them to Fangorn Forest.
Ah, Fangorn. A place where time seems to move differently, a realm of ancient trees and forgotten magic.
Just the name evokes images of towering trees, tangled roots, and a sense of deep, primal power.
And within this ancient forest dwells the Ents, those shepherds of the trees who've witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations.
The Ents, they're like living embodiments of nature's strength and endurance, aren't they?
Precisely. They possess a patience and wisdom born from centuries of observing the world, slow to anger, but when roused, their wrath is like a force of nature.
And it's in Fangorn that our heroes encounter Treebeard, the eldest of the Ents.
Treebeard. A being of immense age and wisdom, his voice like the creaking of ancient boughs.
I can almost hear it now.
It's through Treebeard that they learn the extent of Saruman's treachery, how he's been corrupting the forest's power for his own dark purposes.
A betrayal of nature itself.
Indeed, and this revelation forces the Ents to make a choice, to break their long-held neutrality and enter the conflict.
It must have been a momentous decision for them.
Oh, absolutely. The Entmoot, that gathering where they decide their course of action, it's a pivotal moment. It showcases their deliberate nature, their careful consideration of the consequences before taking action.
So they understand the gravity of what they're about to do.
Precisely. And when they finally march on Isengard, it's an awe-inspiring sight.
Like the very earth is rising up in anger.
The destruction of Isengard is a stunning victory for the forces of good, a visual representation of nature's power to overcome even the most entrenched evil.
But I imagine there's a certain poignancy to their victory as well.
There is. The Ents, while righteous in their anger, cause immense destruction.
It raises the question, can good truly triumph without leaving a mark, without causing some measure of collateral damage?
A profound question indeed, one that resonates throughout Tolkien's work. And speaking of difficult choices and collateral damage, the Rohirrim, led by King Theoden, are facing their own trials.
The Rohirrim, those horse lords of Rohan, caught between Saruman's machinations and the growing threat from Mordor.
Theoden's struggle is a fascinating study in leadership and manipulation. He's been weakened by Saruman's influence, his mind clouded with doubt and despair.
So he's not at his full strength.
Not at all. It takes Gandalf's intervention, the breaking of Saruman's hold, to restore his clarity of purpose and reignite his warrior spirit.
It's an incredible transformation. He goes from a weary and indecisive king to a fierce leader ready to defend his people to the death.
And the Battle of Helm's Deep, where the Rohirrim make their stand against Saruman's forces. It's one of the most epic and visually stunning sequences in the entire story.
A clash of civilizations.
Yeah.
A desperate struggle for survival against overwhelming odds.
The Rohirrim, outnumbered and outmatched, fight with incredible courage, their loyalty to their king and their land unwavering.
And just when all hope seems lost, Gandalf arrives with the reinforcements.
Ah, yes. Gandalf, leading that epic charge that turns the tide of the battle.
It's like something out of a legend, the timing, the strategy, the sheer audacity of it all.
Gandalf's arrival is more than just a plot device, though. It's a symbolic reinforcement of hope, a demonstration of the power of timing and strategic brilliance in the face of adversity. And let's not forget the role of the Huorns.
The Huorns.
Those strange and vengeful tree creatures. They attack Saruman's army from the flanks, adding a layer of the supernatural to the battle.
It's almost as if the forest itself is rising up to defend itself, using every weapon at its disposal.
Their presence reminds us that there are forces at play in Middle-earth that go beyond the understanding of men.
And even though the Battle of Helm's Deep ends in a resounding victory for the forces of good, it comes at a cost.
Indeed. Many brave warriors fall on both sides. The land is scarred by the violence.
A stark reminder that even in victory, there is loss.
Exactly. And while these grand battles rage, Frodo and Sam continue their harrowing journey through the Dead Marshes.
The Dead Marshes, that sounds ominous.
It is. More than just a physical challenge, it represents the ring's corrupting influence, a place where hope seems to have withered and died.
The very air heavy with a sense of hopelessness, the ground treacherous and unforgiving.
It's a test of their endurance, their faith in each other, and their unwavering determination to complete their mission. And then there's Gollum, adding another layer of complexity.
Gollum. Driven by his obsession with the ring, he's like their guide, yet also a potential threat.
He's such a fascinating character, isn't he?
Yeah.
Constantly battling between his desire for the ring and those fleeting moments of compassion.
It's almost as if he embodies the struggle between good and evil within a single heart.
A perfect example of the ring's corrupting influence, how it can twist even the most well-intentioned being. But then they encounter Faramir, Boromir's brother, who offers a stark contrast.
Faramir.
Unlike Boromir, Faramir is not tempted by the ring. He understands its true nature, the danger it poses. He chooses duty over personal gain.
What a powerful moment, especially considering his brother's fate.
It demonstrates that even in the face of temptation, even surrounded by darkness, it's possible to choose the right path, to resist the lure of power and remain true to one's value.
A beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness.
Exactly. And as Frodo and Sam draw closer to Mordor, the land of shadow and despair, we see how even the smallest acts of courage, the choices made by individuals, can have a profound impact on the fate of the world.
The stage is set for the final confrontation, the climax of this epic struggle between good and evil.
As we journey deeper into Tolkien's epic, we find Frodo and Sam on the very threshold of Mordor.
Right on the doorstep of the enemy's stronghold.
And while their personal struggle intensifies, the fight for Middle-earth itself reaches a fever pitch.
It's like all the paths we've been following, those seemingly separate storylines, are about to converge.
Exactly. It's a masterstroke of storytelling, how Tolkien weaves together these different threads, creating a sense of impending doom and a glimmer of hope all at once.
And that sense of impending doom is palpable as Frodo and Sam enter Mordor. The landscape itself is so oppressive.
Oh, absolutely. Desolate, volcanic.
Like a physical manifestation of Sauron's evil.
It's a place where hope seems to struggle to survive. The air itself is heavy with despair.
It's a testament to Tolkien's descriptive power, how he can make you feel the weight of that despair, the crushing hopelessness of it all.
And yet, amidst this desolation, Frodo and Sam keep going. Every step forward is a victory against that darkness.
They have to, right? The fate of Middle-earth depends on it.
Precisely. And Gollum, ever the enigma, adds another layer of tension to their journey.
He's leading them toward Mount Doom,
Yes.
but his motives are always shrouded in ambiguity.
Is he truly helping them? Or is he waiting for the right moment to seize the ring for himself? It's impossible to tell.
He's a living embodiment of the ring's corrupting influence.
A creature twisted by his obsession.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of places, the battle between good and evil can rage within a single heart.
And then there's their arrival at Minas Morgul, a chilling turning point in their journey.
Minas Morgul. That city, once beautiful, is now a horrifying spectacle, a testament to the perversion of beauty by Sauron's evil.
The imagery Tolkien uses is incredibly powerful. The pale, corpse-like light, that revolving tower, the sheer sense of dread that permeates the very air. It's as though we're peering into the abyss itself.
And it's from this abyss that the Witch King emerges, leading Sauron's armies to war. It's a moment that truly signals the beginning of the end, the escalation of this conflict to a level we haven't seen before.
It's as though all the smaller conflicts, the skirmishes and individual struggles, are about to be swept away by this tidal wave of war that's about to engulf Middle-earth.
And while this is happening, Frodo and Sam are making their way through the Cirith Ungol, that treacherous pass guarded by Shelob. The Witch King represents a more abstract kind of fear. Shelob is pure, visceral horror.
She's a creature of instinct, driven by a hunger that consumes all who stray into her web.
And her attack on Frodo is one of the most terrifying moments in the entire story.
It's a scene that plays on our deepest fears. A nightmare come to life.
But it's also a scene that highlights Sam's incredible courage.
He doesn't hesitate to fight for Frodo, even against a creature as horrifying as Shelob. He's not a warrior, he's a gardener.
Right.
But in that moment, he becomes a true hero.
It's a powerful reminder that heroism can be found in the most unexpected places, in the quiet acts of those who refuse to give up on those they love.
And while Frodo and Sam face their ordeal in Cirith Ungol, the fate of Middle-earth is being decided on the battlefields of Gondor.
The siege of Minas Tirith, the culmination of Sauron's campaign.
It's heartbreaking to witness Denethor, the steward of Gondor, succumb to despair.
He was once a wise and strong leader.
He was.
But Sauron's influence has poisoned his mind, leaving him broken and defeated.
It's a tragic reminder that even the strongest among us can be broken by despair.
And yet, even in the face of such overwhelming darkness, hope persists.
Right. Gandalf's arrival as Gandalf the White.
Gandalf the White.
His transformation from a gray pilgrim to a radiant beacon of power. It's a truly awe-inspiring moment.
It's a sign that the tide is turning.
Gandalf rallies the defenders of Minas Tirith, bringing with him a renewed sense of purpose and determination.
And the arrival of the Rohirrim, those horse lords of Rohan, adds another layer of hope to this seemingly desperate situation.
Their charge into the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, one of the most exhilarating moments in the entire story.
A display of raw courage and unwavering loyalty in the face of overwhelming odds.
King Theoden, leading the charge, embodies the Rohirrim spirit.
Knowing they are outnumbered, but understanding that their sacrifice is necessary.
His death in battle, while tragic, is a testament to his leadership and his unwavering dedication to his people.
And then there's Eowyn, Theoden's niece, defying convention, riding into battle disguised as a man.
Her confrontation with the Witch King is one of the most iconic moments in all of fantasy literature.
It's a powerful statement about courage, defying expectations, and rising to meet extraordinary challenges.
Aragorn arrives with the army of the dead.
Aragorn, the true king of Gondor, fulfilling his destiny.
He's no longer the ranger hiding in the shadows, but a king claiming his birthright, leading his people to victory.
The army of the dead, a terrifying sight, but ultimately bound to fight for good.
It's a reminder that even the most unlikely allies can play a crucial role in the fight against evil.
But even with this victory, the war is far from over.
Sauron's forces are still a threat, and the One Ring remains to be destroyed.
So while Aragorn leads the armies of the West to the Black Gate of Mordor, we return to Frodo and Sam, who have finally reached Mount Doom.
This is the culmination of their journey.
The fate of Middle-earth resting on Frodo's shoulders.
Can he resist the ring's ultimate temptation and cast it into the fires of Mount Doom?
The tension in those final moments is almost unbearable.
Right. The ring's influence at its strongest, whispering promises of power, twisting Frodo's thoughts.
And Gollum, driven by his obsession, makes his final play, attacking Frodo in a desperate attempt to seize the ring.
It's a chaotic struggle, a microcosm of the larger battle raging across Middle-earth.
And in a twist of fate, Gollum's own treachery leads to his demise.
He seizes the ring, but in his moment of triumph loses his footing and falls into the fires of Mount Doom, taking the ring with him.
A fitting end for a creature so consumed by his desire for the ring.
With the ring destroyed, Sauron's power collapses.
His armies crumble, his fortresses fall, and his reign of terror comes to an end.
It's a victory for the forces of good, but it comes at a heavy price. Many have perished, and the world bears the scars of conflict.
But there's also a sense of hope.
A feeling of renewal.
The survivors begin to rebuild their shattered lives and communities.
Aragorn is crowned King Elisar, uniting the kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor.
A new era of peace and prosperity.
And the hobbits return to the Shire, changed by their experiences, but determined to reclaim their homeland.
But they find the Shire under the control of Saruman, who has escaped his imprisonment.
The scouring of the Shire. It shows that even in peacetime, there are still battles to be fought.
The hobbits, once content with their simple lives, are now seasoned adventurers.
They defeat Saruman, marking the true end of the War of the Ring.
It's a testament to the idea that even the most ordinary individuals can rise to meet extraordinary challenges.
Tolkien's epic tale is ultimately a story about hope, courage, and the power of friendship.
It's a reminder that even the smallest actions can have a profound impact.
That courage can be found in the most unexpected places.
And that even when all hope seems lost, there's always a chance for good to triumph.
I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into Middle-earth.
It's been a fascinating journey, full of twists and turns, epic battles, and quiet moments of heroism.
Tolkien's world is vast and complex, with endless layers to explore.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, may your own journeys be filled with wonder and discovery.